ooh, if I could play PC games on a handheld, what I would play is that fan Sonic Triple Trouble game.
Ooh.
And I was like, ooh, is it available for Android? And I looked into it, and yes, it was. And it was like, it wasn't, I didn't even have to jump a hoop. I went to the dude's website, and like there was the APK, and I just tapped it, and I'm playing the game.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
What service?
Yeah. I guess it's because like if he makes a dime off of it, the whole thing will get shut down. So for those who haven't heard of this, there was a game for the Game Gear called Sonic Triple Trouble. And I think it came out, had to have come out after Sonic 3 and after Sonic and Knuckles, because it was Knuckles is in it. There's that bad guy with the cowboy hat that's in Sonic Mania a bit.
Yeah, he's kind of like an Australian looking guy.
Whoever the hell he is.
I had that in the Game Gear growing up. I had it.
Did you?
Yeah, I loved it because it was easy. Because the first two Sonics on the Game Gear are pretty tough. The real stay on the screen didn't help, and I think they were more hard. Sonic Chaos, I also had that. That was
pretty good.
That was better. It was more generous difficulty. This was probably the most fair of all of those Game Gear games.
I believe Chaos and maybe even Triple Trouble, they had like kind of pre-rendered 8-bit graphics for Sonic, which were kind of unique looking.
Yeah.
There's also the Tails game, Tails Adventure for Game Gear,
which is kind of like a Metroidvania-ish thing, I think.
I'm kind of turned off by any of those Game Gear games because they're too fucking close. Sonic, you need some runway.
You need runway, man.
You don't need it. I need to be 16:9. I'm not soft. I'm not a P word.
Before 3, better resolution. You need it.
We need to be away from the character a little bit because we're going to be moving quick, and he needs to be aligned to the left. He needs to be left aligned. None of this like he can't be getting ahead of himself. He's just going to be losing rings like a motherfucker. So anyway, a guy is out there, and he said, "Wouldn't it be fun to take Sonic Triple Trouble and convert it, reimagine it as a 16-bit Sonic game?" In the style of a Sonic Mania or a Sonic 3 and Knuckles. And I always just thought that was a great idea. And I was always really disappointed that it wasn't available for the EverDrive, that I couldn't throw it on like the Genesis or something. Apparently there is a 4x3 version of it too. So it'd be really cool if you could do that. But now that I've played through the game and I've played the whole thing on my doodad there on the Odin 2, I thought, EJ, that I was going to be like impressed that somebody did it. I mean, oh yeah, those are Sonic levels, and maybe the level design would be a little bit shitty because it kind of always is. Like when I played the Mario 64 hacks, they make a hill a little bit too steep, or they just put shit in the wrong place. Like you just tell these aren't developed. Yeah,
it's not Nintendo.
This guy made an incredible Sonic game. Yeah, I think Sonic Mania level. I think Sonic Mania tier.
I'll have to try it out. I have the RGL. I might as well put it on there.
I guess Sonic Mania is better. I guess probably, but this is very good. So
wow. Sega, hire him.
I mean, it's way better than like Sonic Superstars. Way better than it's something I didn't really want to put down. It was just really fun, and it looked beautiful, and it reimagined that original game in a way that didn't even really remind you of that original game. And then I went back and tried to play some of the original game, and it was fun for a novelty. It didn't feel anything like this, even though it's like almost a clone. It didn't feel anything like this new one. The levels themselves felt really unique for Sonic games because normally they do desert, they do a water, they do a thing, this and that. He had like a jungle that really felt like a jungle. Most notably, there's a boss fight where you're chasing Fang around and you're on a moving train. So it's a Sonic game on a moving train. The environment is like rapidly changing while it's happening, and you have to keep making your way kind of through the train. And those pods that have like the animals that Robotnik captured, you have to keep releasing those. So you're like saving animals on the train as you go. It's so good. And then like the bad guy will show up and you kind of have to like get in a hit and then like you keep going. There's a power up. They had one that was like, it's the homing attack. So the homing attack is not by default something you can use. In Sonic 4, they made like for the mobile that horrible game, they made homing attack something he could kind of always do. And in this, it's a power up, which makes more sense. Spin dash is here. From the very, I like that like Christian Whitehead invented this spin dash thing and now it's just baked into every Sonic game from this point on, including like that Sonic Origins game. It's your spin dashing the whole way through all the old ones. There's something very satisfying about that spin dash. Do you remember Sonic Mania had kind of like Sega Saturn inspired special stages?
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Where you were running after rings and you were trying to like kind of outrun something, I think it was. You had to keep collecting rings to up the time. Kind of felt a little bit like the Sonic CD special stages, a little bit like like what Sega Saturn would have done. They do the exact same thing here, except you're racing Fang.
Oh,
And so you just basically have to not fuck up. And it's so cool because in the original one, the special stage, in the Game Gear one, the special stages were really just collecting rings like on springs. It's kind of all you were doing. And I think they had one kind of 3D, like you were in the tornado and you were like getting rings like in a sort of mode 7-ish kind of thing for the Game Gear. In this, like, yeah, you're in a race against him and then you get to the end of the track and you jump off and you think you're dead. And then the tornado comes into frame and you're on the tornado. And now like the special stage is part, it's so good. It's really impressive. I think that one of the things that Sonic fans, like something that captured our imaginations as kids was in Sonic 3, the end of level and beginning of level transitions, a little kind of story cutscenes.
Yeah.
Sonic Mania did that, but it didn't do it that well, in my opinion. And I think in a lot of people's opinions, it didn't go as far as it could have for a new release. Like that was such a cool, fun idea that you could have like taken it a bit further. This takes it much further. Like they're really fun. If you remember in Sonic 3, like the level starts off with Sonic on a snowboard and then he hops off the snowboard and the level starts. This is like, there's a snow level where you like throughout the level, you keep jumping onto a snowboard and then there's like some snowboard parts and you jump off of that. But it's all in that Sonic 3 style. So instead of fighting Knuckles once, most of these games, you fight Knuckles once. Game Boy Advance, there's that. Obviously Sonic 3, you encounter him, you get in some hits, you've defeated Knuckles. In this one, you keep encountering Knuckles and they keep varying up the kinds of fights you're having with them. Like different kinds of style. Yeah, it's great.
Hey, I always like those games that have like a reoccurring villain that just pops up, like Nemesis and Resident Evil and stuff like that. You just like you keep encountering them and figuring out different ways to evade them.
Like I don't think I like it more than Sonic Mania. Like I said, I think I might like it more than Sonic 3 and Knuckles.
Wow,
it's really well because it is really that game. It's but leveled up and kind of they take all those ideas and kind of boost them up. Wow. And the thing about Sonic Mania, as cool as it is, there's just a lot of retreaded ground there, and this doesn't feel like retreaded ground, even though it's based on a Game Gear game.
Interesting, very interesting.
I'm extremely impressed. It looks great. It feels great. It's like what Sonic ought to be. I hear there's a lot of great Sonic stuff out there like this, but this one,
Sonic community on the internet is insane. So
so
lots of enthusiasm.
Yeah, that's for sure. I think that's all I have to say about it. But yeah, it's free as fuck. And if you have Android or Windows, you just download it, you play it.
Yeah. Isn't the Sonic 3 movie coming out soon?
Pretty soon, yeah. It seems. I thought Jim Carrey retired.
Well, he comes back for Sonic, baby.
Yeah, of all things, artistic integrity of Sonic.
Subscribe to Red Cow Entertainment on Patreon for full episodes every other week.